So, first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. Okay, and I'm sorry to disappoint you, but this is not a case study. These are some reflections about my experience in the municipality, what I've been doing all these years. So this is a map just to show you where Cascais is in the metropolitan area of Lisbon. Okay? Okay, so in order to speak about the future, I need to start in the past. And in 1998, our head of department, Miguel Bralagais, he asked me, he said, listen, our master plan is totally unreadable. You can see it on the left side. And we need something that shows up what are the ecological value areas of Cascais. So you can see the natural park, the forest areas in dark green, okay? And in yellow, we had then the projects that were being developed. This was all done before GIS system, okay? We had to do it upon the military map at scale 1 to 25. It was quite hard. Nowadays, it's totally different, okay? The master plan looks totally different. It's much more accurate, and it's still, at dark green, you see the fundamental ecological structure, the natural park, forest areas, the river corridors, some of them connecting the natural park to the seaside. And in blue, you can see the urban ecological structure. And this is where we work. And so I want to bring you and make you try to understand at scale 1 to 1, what is exactly this urban ecological structure. We have all sorts of green areas. So the department is working now in the maintenance of more than 150 hectares of green spaces, okay, for all kinds. We have historical areas, and I'll show you some pictures quickly. You can see that some of them are not interesting at all. Some of them need restoration. Some of them are large, small. We have all kinds of green areas. And some of them are expectant areas, barren land or abandoned areas. And also in that urban green structure, we have private areas. So the blue dots are really idealistic. They don't correspond to the reality. And these expectant areas, people demand and people ask us to develop projects. And so we do this planning. We have a team colleague who works with GIS, and she's studying and she's doing always this, considering areas with recreational value, okay, with more than 350 square meters. So we know where they are. And we calculate the distance, the walking distance of 400 meters that people can access the green areas. And so we can determine, considering the building density and the number of residents in the area, we know where the green spaces are more needed. You can see it in red, okay? So when we discuss budget, we don't have money enough. Should we develop something here or there? We try as much as we can to influence our decision makers to work in these green areas. So for our projects, okay, we are always based in lots of concepts. I think they are up to date. We made this manual of good practices for resilient green areas. So we are always considering not only the SDGs, but the sustainability, the resilience. We want them as multifunctional as we can in order to have as many people using the green areas so that they are not abandoned or subject to more vandalism or, I don't know, whatever unsecure uses that can be done. We are reducing irrigation in order, considering climate change and the need to save water. And climate change is always, always upon us because things are changing, you know, and the local context of this project is very important for us because we need to understand where exactly we are working and what the population living there really expects from us, or what they really want. So we are investing in urban forests. Many of them correspond to river corridors, woodlands that exist before. You can see there these trails, these walking trails, people are really wanting this for leisure, for sports, whatever. It's some new typology that people really like. Also, we have a huge demand for outdoor fitness and playgrounds, which are very expensive, as you all know. and we are working with urban agriculture. We have these community gardens, which work quite well. This image on the right corresponds to this project I've developed. You can see that it is exactly in the middle of a residential area, so people live nearby. There was previously a green area with a sports field on the left. This is a slope, okay, so it was on the lower part of it. And so this is creating a multifunctional green area, okay? And the vegetable garden is there, and at the side of the vegetable garden, what you see, those lines, are the community vineyard. We are also working with community vineyards, trying to revive and Carcavel's wine, which is an ancient kind of wine we have, which is almost dying in our urban areas, unfortunately. We also work with orchards, community orchards, and community gardens in schools and daycare centers. And our colleagues did these extraordinary manuals because everything is grown organically. Okay, so we have a manual. People have to have some training, some hours of training in order to have a vegetable garden. And they produced this manual and a manual for the schools, which guides not only the teachers, but also the kids. It has exercises and examples of what can be done with the kids. We have a lot of participation. We have a participatory budget where generally people come to us with an idea for a project and then they ask for money to realize that project. We had this experience with an Horizon 2020 project, Project Reg. It had the slogan of Nature for Renewal, and it's the opposite of the participatory budget. In this case, we have determined a living lab area, okay, with 4 social neighborhoods around it. More than 20% of this area was abandoned, okay, totally abandoned things. It has a river in the middle. And so we went to the population and we asked them, what would you like to see or to have here in 30 years' time? In considering only nature-based solutions, considering only ecological interventions. And so the participation was great. And we produced this urban regeneration plan, which is online, if you have the curiosity to see. It's an interactive plan, so you can click on it and understand what's the nature-based solution considered for the area, what kind of projects are there, and what is needed to develop those projects. Are there policy changes needed, whatever. This is in the image on the left, you see what it looked like, this abandoned area in 2018. And we did there a vegetable garden for the social neighborhood, because here we have more than 110 families depending on the food bank. Okay, so they said, we need food. And horticulture for them, it's life-saving, many of them. So it went quite well. So now I want to talk a little about the management of these areas. Okay, what it means to maintain urban public spaces. I thought of facing adversities because this is how we feel, and Mariana is out there, my colleague who's working with maintenance. It's really, maintenance is when everything wrong happens, you know, everything, because it's a continuous work. It doesn't hit the news, and our politicians love being on the news, if possible, hitting the headlines. So for us, when we think that we are doing a good job and maintenance is okay, that's no news, that's not interesting, okay? This is really, it requires technical resilience from our side. And it requires staff, it requires people for working in garden. And people are not trained properly, so we have to train them on job constantly. And everything happens, you know, we have these extreme weather conditions, we have vandalism, we have plagues that are coming, we have invasive plants, and we have public opinion, okay? And public opinion is polarized, as everyone knows. Some people love trees, some people hate trees. And again, politicians don't want us to have the public and the voters unsatisfied. So this is hard, okay? And a little reflection here about time, okay? We spend some time in planning, we spend some time in project, we spend some time in construction, and then we have a lifetime of maintenance. And I think that sometimes this is not valued enough, because the work we do, it endures and it goes on. So the great thing about Cascais Ambiente and our team is that I am in the project team, I do projects, and I help the maintenance team. And we are in constant contact. We are always learning from each other. We know what works, we know what doesn't work, we know what's a problem for the maintenance team, and we know how to solve it. So when they ask us for improvements, and the case on the left is we need new plantings. We need a new planting design for the left case. So we are always upgrading, okay, and working together. And you can see on the right a co-participation process in the new School of Business and Economics of Carcavelos, where we have a smart pole, which is a living lab for decarbonization and climate resilience, where we are collecting data for every intervention done. And this roundabout is an example of a lawn, irrigated lawn, consuming lots of water. And so we had the residents and the students coming and transforming it. So we planted native species with a drip system irrigation, and it's saving a lot of water. And this is being done all along the Living Lab area. So here, I'm coming to this concept I have that maintenance is project survival. So when people are designing a project, they need to understand that afterwards come years and years and years of maintenance. So we need a good project that can be maintained, okay? The project cannot ignore the evolution, the transformation, and the hazards that are happening and coming. So on the left, I have an example, and I chose this for this communication, the flowering meadows. We are working a lot with flowering meadows, dry meadows, in order to save water. So we are changing lawns, irrigated lawns, into flowering meadows, okay? And on the left, what you see near the cypress, there was a plantation of native species, shrubs, okay? And a narrow stripe of a flowering meadow. What happens is that the meadows grow much faster than shrubs, okay? So the meadows, the plants, they swamped over the shrubs disappeared. And now what do we do? Okay, in the maintenance now we have to go there and mow everything. We don't have the resources to be there picking the plants one by one and saving 2 shrubs. It's impossible for us, okay? The case on the right is totally different because we kept the lawn where people can step on and play, and on the left we have these meadows, okay? And people understand, the users understand. The meadows are in the framing area of the urban park, okay? They will be dry in summer. People accept it as long as they still have a beautiful garden to use and to enjoy. You see, so this is how decisions in project are reflected in the future of the garden, okay? And we really need these meadows for climate change adaptation, and maintenance is always being upgraded. Speak louder? Time, okay, sorry, okay. I'll speed it up. So someone wrote this, I read this sentence somewhere, that landscape architects translate science into beautiful landscapes. And it's true. I think that we landscape architects, we know a little about everything, okay? And we always work from a comprehensive approach. We look at stuff with a broad view, and then we can understand what's in there, what kind of layers we need to work with. And this is I think this is an extraordinary quality we have. And we can deal with budgets, we can deal with money, and it reflects how much will this cost, and how do we make it cheaper, how do we make it feasible. And we also have to deal a lot, and we have to learn to deal with public awareness, because public needs to understand what we're doing in order to enjoy and appreciate our work. You know, we need people to understand it. Otherwise, people will always be complaining. What are you doing? What kind of tree is this? No, I'm allergic to that, whatever. And this is hugely important for decision makers. Okay, so this awareness is something we should work on. And I think that one of the major strengths that we landscape architects have is that we are very good in working in teams, because we can connect dots, we can connect the experts, we can understand what one is saying and connect it to another expert. And we have this ability to deal with changes because we know everything changes. We know about nature, we know about natural systems, we know that nature keeps changing and has its own cycles. So when you look at this picture, you immediately understand it was taken in winter, okay, and that's a retaining basin. And you expect it to look completely different during summer. This is obvious for a landscape architect. It's not obvious for everyone. So I think this is something that we should focus, okay? We are very good at dealing with changes, and we need to really reflect on this. But we also have a great weakness, I think, okay? Because we are living in a fast-changing world. We are being bombed with information, with social media. We have artificial intelligence coming, and we don't know exactly how it will help us, or will it be enough or not, what will happen. And what happens is that our work, everything we do, takes a long time to develop results. Okay, we have a project, we do a garden, and the garden is beautiful when? 15 years later, you know, when it's mature. And our society right now doesn't want this slow process, okay? So I think at the same time of changes, we should understand that we are weak because everyone is going much faster than we are, okay? So I think that our strength for the future relies here, thinking that balance is always dynamic, and we want to reach balance with nature and human interactions and our landscapes. We want to keep them, okay, whatever happens, but we want them to be resilient, so we want balance. But this balance isn't stable, and it's not happening how we would like to have it, okay? And for that, I think that we need to have effective communication with the public, especially us that work in public services. We are dealing with people every day, and we need to work really in giving people awareness and communicate. And nowadays, acronyms are really in fashion. This is why nature-based solutions are so, okay. People know the name, people understand it, and they get in their ear and they get in their conscience, okay? But acronyms are very good for that because they shorten the words and they make it everything easy to understand. But they cannot become a dialect. We cannot have this very intellectual dialect full of acronyms and difficult words that no one understands. So we need participation. We need to get people into the solutions, and we need people to, because it raises awareness when people are participating with us, when people are demanding something and we're satisfying their needs, they start to understand what we do and why we do it. Okay, so I think that more and more with climate change, we need to be consulting experts from everywhere, and we need to keep teamwork, because none of us will survive alone, I think. We need to work with others. This example of No Mow May, it's from Plant Life. It's online, it's done in the UK, and it's very interesting. I think, again, about flowering meadows. So this is appealing people to don't cut the flowers before having the seeds, because the meadows need to regenerate. And on the site, if you want to check it, I'm sorry if you know it, okay? But there's lots and lots and lots of information. And I think this is an excellent way of communicating. It's not the only way, obviously, but it's a way that we can use, communicate something and get it to people, and then having layers of information that people can look for and that people can understand. I don't know if I have the time. No? Okay, so I'll end it here with a message of hope. Okay, and thank you very much for your attention.